from time to time. Really bad hygienic conditions, taking showers once in 6 weeks with a half bucket of cold water, no soap, no toothpaste. And of course, the worst thing was the starvation that made in purpose, because when we ate one meal a day, when I say one meal, it's 1.5 pita bread.
Some of your Israeli guests are deceiving themselves if they still think that they can use normalization with Arab countries to avoid the Palestinian issue, or to neglect the Palestinian issue, or to destroy the Palestinian future.
Is that I imagine you had no idea what had happened to your family, to your wife and 2 daughters. So take me back to October the 7th and exactly what happened that day before you were kidnapped.
Interview a Palestinian prisoner. One of them is a cousin of mine who's البرغوثي. I mean, these Israeli captives have spent 2 years in captivity. البرغوثي spent 45 years in jail. He's in Cairo. You can interview him. The saddest thing to me now is that he was deported after he was released.
السلام عليكم. لقاء ناري بمعنى الكلمة ولأول مرة في التاريخ. اللقاء اللي حنشوفه هو محاولة الإحراج المتعمد للدكتور مصطفى البرغوثي اللي هز الاستوديو. هذا اللقاء ما كان حوار عادي أبدا، كان مواجهة حاسمة بالحقائق يلي بتوجع. مصطفى البرغوثي اللي بيحكي بلغة الأرقام المرة والتحليل يلي بيقطع القلب. كانت هذه المقابلة بين مصطفى البرغوثي وبين أسير سابق من غزة اللي طلع بعد 491 يوم وحاول يحرج البرغوثي بمرارة تجربته الشخصية. بس المشهد الدرامي ما بتقدر تفهمه غير إذا عرفت السياق الأوسع. البرغوثي حكى عن 70,000 عائلة فلسطينية فقدت أحبائها، وهذا الرقم لحاله بيختصر المأساة كلها.
7th of October and held hostage for 491 days. His wife and 2 daughters were killed during the attack. His brother Yossi was also kidnapped but died in captivity, and Yossi's body was released by Hamas this week. Ellie has written a book about his experience called Hostage. Well, Ellie, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Piers.
I've not had the opportunity to interview a hostage who was taken in Israel. Let me first of all start by just asking you to summarize your experience when you were in captivity.
It was, of course, hell for me, like for the hostages. Humiliation, daily basis, loads of psychological terror by the captors, violence from time to time, really bad hygienic conditions, taking showers once in 6 weeks with a half bucket of cold water, no soap, no toothpaste. And of course, the worst thing was the starvation that made in purpose, because when we ate one meal a day, when I say one meal, it's 1.5 pita bread, dry pita bread. They used to eat 5 meals a day.
What was it that sustained you when you were in captivity? Did you expect that you would one day be released? Did you fear you might never come out? What was your psychology when you were in there?
Me personally, I will always try to believe that one day will come and I will be released. I really, really wanted to believe that. I kept thinking, in an optimistic way that helped me to survive, helped me to be in a good mood and not to be depressed. And that's where I thought it's the best way to survive there.
الآن بيجي مقابلة الدكتور البرغوثي للرد على الأسير. خلينا أقول لك إنه بعد ما أعلنوا عن الاتفاق اللي وقف آلة الحرب مؤقتاً، بيجي السؤال الأكبر اللي لازم نسأله بصوت عالي. اللي بنشوفه هذا نهاية للحرب ولا هي مجرد جولة تبادل أنفاس؟ الأهم من هيك، حل الدولتين هو حبر على ورق زي ما كنا متوقعين، ولا إرادة دولية جدية لتطبيقه؟ وهون بتيجي الخطورة بالتحليل اللي قدمه الدكتور مصطفى البرغوثي لما أكد بالحرف: هذا اتفاق وليس صفقة سلام. يا أخي، هاي الجملة مفتاح لكل التحليل السياسي، بتفرق لك بين الهدوء المؤقت وبين الحل السياسي. البرغوثي ما خلى مجال للشك. الأرقام يلي بتخلي الواحد يصفن. 92% من بيوت غزة تدمرت، يعني القطاع صار ركام. وهذا كلام مش من عندي، هي إحصائيات الأمم المتحدة يلي بتأكد إنه الدمار غير قابل للحصر. قال لك عدد الضحايا والجرحى لو صار في أمريكا بتوازيه خسارة 33 مليون إنسان. تخيل حجم الكارثة. هذا الدمار يلي صار خلى رئيس وزراء إيرلندا يوصفه بوصف مر جدا: استخدام الدمار كسلاح. هذا الوصف بحط الموضوع بالقانون الدولي على إنه جريمة. الكارثة الإنسانية اللي شفناها ما حدا قدر يتجاهلها، فدفعت دول أوروبية مهمة زي بريطانيا وفرنسا وبلجيكا وسلوفينيا إنها تتحرك للاعتراف بالدولة الفلسطينية، زي ما نقلت تقارير من واشنطن بوست وغيرها من هاي التقارير. هذا الاعتراف مش لفتة رمزية للسلام، هذا رد فعل على غضب شعبي عالمي ما بيتحمل استخدام القوة محل القانون.
The Palestinian National Initiative, Mustafa Barghouti. Mustafa, thanks for coming back on Uncensored. We've talked a lot in the last 2 years throughout this war. Just first of all, how do you feel about this peace deal, which at the very least has got the hostages released and appears to have stopped the bombing? Are you happy about this? How do you feel?
Well, first of all, let me say that I wish that Eli will heal from his trauma, which is very harsh trauma. As much as I hope that the 70,000 Palestinian families will also heal from losing their beloved in this terrible attack that happened in Gaza. I think what we are talking about here is a deal, but not a peace deal. I mean, I don't think it provides conditions for peace. It is a plan that ended the war on Gaza, which is very good. From our perspective as Palestinians, it ended the genocidal war that was happening there, killing and injuring almost 11% of the population of Gaza. That is about 250,000 almost people. And 11% is a huge number. I mean, if you compare it to the United States of America, you would be talking about almost 33 million people killed or injured. It's horrible. 92% of all homes of Gaza are also destroyed. So why I cannot call it a peace plan? It led to two important things. Yes, stopping the war, but also one of the main results of what happened is that the whole idea of ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from Gaza has vanished. That is a very important result. That the dreams of Netanyahu to ethnically cleanse Palestinians did not happen and will never happen again. That's it. That is very important strategically about the future solution. Why it's not peace yet? Because, first of all, this agreement says nothing about ending the Israeli occupation of West Bank and Gaza. It says nothing about guaranteeing the Palestinian right of self-determination. It says nothing about allowing Palestinians to be free from occupation and have their own sovereignty and their right of unconditional self-determination. And fourth, it doesn't say a word about the possibility of creating an independent Palestinian state. That's why I say it's about ending the war, which is good, but it doesn't provide a solution. Some of your Israeli guests are deceiving themselves if they still think that they can use normalization with Arab countries to avoid the Palestinian issue, or to neglect the Palestinian issue, or to destroy the Palestinian future. I repeat, there are 7.3 million Palestinians now on the land of historic Palestine versus 7.2, 7.1 Jewish Israelis. What's the solution? Israel did not want two-state solution, claiming it's because of security reasons, while we see that most of the people killed or injured here are Palestinians. Second, they don't accept one democratic state, which I personally would prefer, with equal rights for everybody, and coexistence in a situation of democracy and economic development. Then if they refuse the one state and the two states, what's their solution? For many extremists in Israel, especially Netanyahu and Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, the solution was ethnic cleansing. That is over. It's over. So all Israelis must face the reality and the truth here. Nobody is defeated and nobody has won a war. What we have here is a continuation of a struggle, a continuation of a conflict between two people living on the same land, and the Palestinian people deserve their freedom. There is no way that this can be taken away from Palestinians.
One of the many terrible aspects of your story, Yelli, is that I imagine you had no idea what had happened to your family, to your wife and two daughters. So take me back to October the 7th and exactly what happened that day before you were kidnapped.
Of course, it was since 6:30 in the morning. It was alarms all over Israel from missiles that have been shot from Gaza. We've been in a safe room with our daughters, with our dog, and 4 hours later, the Hamas terrorists invaded to our house. After 4 hours ago, they infiltrated Kibbutz Be'eri. Just half an hour before that, Lian and I made the decision that we are not going to fight back. We have no weapons to fight back or something like that, and we presume I'll be kidnapped. And they have their British passports, Lian, Noya, and Yahel, and we were sure it will protect them. And then the first seconds they opened the door, safe room, the safe room door, we said to them they have British passports, and they understood everything. So 3 minutes later they kidnapped me, and 5 minutes after the kidnap, they murdered, they slaughtered Noya, Yahel, and Lian in our house.
But you didn't know that. You had been kidnapped. So for the entire time that you were in captivity, you were clinging to the hope, I imagine, that your family may have survived.
Yes, thanks God, nobody told me that. It helped me a lot to survive, motivate me to survive, that I know that one day I'll come back, and as I shout up and promised to my daughters before the kidnap, and I would just all the idea, that I'm going to see them one day and hug them again and kiss them again, and I promised myself all the time that I'll take them and move to London and live there.
What was the moment that you realized they had been killed? How soon after your release?
Oh, the minute they passed the Red Cross, transferred me to the IDF on the border, social worker approached to me and told me that my mother and my sister are waiting for me in Reim camp. And I said to her, please bring me Lian, Noya, and Yahel. And she said that my mother and my sister will tell me. And of course, this is the moment I knew that the worst thing happened to me, that they've been murdered on October 7. It was like, 5-kilo hammer on my head. I cried. But then I remember that, after this cry and they tried to calm me down, I remember that where I'm getting the strength from, and it's always from my family. So I wanted to see my mother and my sister and hug them. And that's what happened.
Where you've described all of that, and I don't disagree with much of what you've said. What does the future look like to you if you were able to create a sort of utopia out of this hell? What would utopia look like for the Palestinian people? We've already seen President Trump make it clear to Israel, you cannot annex the West Bank. They've made it clear that Palestinians should be free to return to their homes. These are two good things, I would argue, which have clearly come about because of American pressure. But what does a utopian future look like, as far as you're concerned, for the Palestinians?
My first preference is that we have one democratic state with equal rights for everybody, equal rights, equal duties, and that Palestinians are accepted as equal human beings. That is the best solution. And then there will be no need for any kind of violence, and there will be no need for anybody to attack anybody. But if that is not acceptable to the Israel, I mean, that's what we've been calling for 77 years. And that means equal rights. Equal rights means a Palestinian has the right to live there. And if he was displaced from one place, he has the right to come back. And if they don't want that, and that the practical solution is what they call two-state solution, and Palestinians are allowed to have a state of their own, they're also most welcome. But you cannot say that Palestinians can have some sort of a future under Israeli supervision and under Israeli enslavement. Especially that what you see now in the West Bank is activation of settlement building in a horrible way, destroying any potential for a Palestinian state. During the last 2 years, the Israeli extreme fascists, in my opinion, like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, have built 22 more new settlements, illegal settlements, and 111 settlement outposts. And they've confiscated already 16% of the West Bank. And they've besieged before that 16 other percent of the West Bank. That is not a solution. And even if Israel makes peace with other Arab countries, this will not remove the Palestinians from the picture. We're there. We are the ones who are living there, and we're not going to give up our right to struggle for freedom and our right to struggle for our sovereignty and our right to demand that we are accepted as equal human beings with all the rights that everybody deserves.
I can't even imagine the roller coaster of emotions that you were going through, the joy and jubilation of finally being released, and then the devastation of discovering your wife and daughters had died, but then seeing other family members, your mother, your sister, it must have been just an extraordinarily tumultuous roller coaster for you.
It was a roller coaster of feelings, but it started 2 days before the release, that the Hamas commander announced me in the tunnel that my brother Yossi was kidnapped as well on October 7 and been killed 3 months after that he was kidnapped. And so it started already there. And I just waited to hug Noya and Yahel and Lian on the border. Imagine that. And then, with all this, like you think it's going to be your happiest day ever, the day that they transfer me to the IDF, and I'll feel safe again. And instead of that, they told me about my family, the loss of my family. But I'm a very practical man. I know I can't do anything to bring them back, and I need to, I can't let the grief to wrap me and bury me. I always look, for ways to move on, and I have to stay optimistic, and I want to rebuild my life, and that's what I, rely on. That maybe they see me, from heaven, and I'm very proud of me.
How emotional was it for you to see that Yossi's body had been returned this week? How important was it to you that his body came back?
Oh, it was very, very important, very emotional, of course. My family, the Sharabi's family, have been in this, battle mode to bring him back, his body back, almost 2 years. And I joined them 8 months ago. And it was very, very important for us to bring him back to Israel and bury him.
President Trump obviously made a lightning visit to the region. Many people credit him with finally getting this deal done to at least allow the remaining hostages to be returned. And although it hasn't been completed yet, the expectation that all of those who died in captivity will be returned. How much credit do you give Donald Trump for this?
I give to President Trump and Mr. Witkoff, I give a lot of credit. I give them a lot of credit to my agreement when I was released on February 25. And I met them on March 25. I arrived to the West Wing in Washington. And thank them. I was very grateful that they secure my release.
And by the way, I wish you would also interview a Palestinian prisoner. One of them is a cousin of mine who's البرغوثي. I mean, these Israeli captives have spent 2 years in captivity. البرغوثي spent 45 years in jail. He's in Cairo. You can interview him. The saddest thing to me now is that he was deported after he was released, but his wife is unable to go and reach him or see him for the last 6 months because the Israeli army is preventing her from crossing the bridge to Jordan to go and see him in Egypt. The same happened this week to all the families of prisoners who were Palestinian captives who were released, deported, and their families are now prevented from going and seeing them. This is terrible torture to the families.
Mustafa, it's good to talk to you. And in relation to what you said about Palestinians deserving the exact same human rights as Israelis or as me, I completely agree with you. And to me, there is only one way this ever gets resolved, and that is with a genuine two-state solution where, the Palestinians get to live their own lives with the human rights everybody else gets. And until that gets resolved, I think you're right. Until the core problem gets resolved, then it's hard to see how you get a lasting, sustainable peace. That has to be addressed. And I'm hoping that out of this hell of the last 2 years, that actually there may come an opportunity to finally make this happen. But I think you're right. If people think that everything can go on in the region without tackling the core issue of Palestine, I think they're living in cloud cuckoo land. But I appreciate you coming on, Mustafa, as always. Thank you very much.
مجلة الإيكونومست حكت بتحليلاتها عن الضغط الأمريكي الهائل لإنهاء الحرب، مش لأنهم بيحبوا السلام، بل خوفا من اتساع الصراع الإقليمي اللي ممكن يطيح بمصالح واشنطن وبالمنطقة كلها. يعني الدور الأمريكي كان إدارة أزمة بضغط خارجي عشان إما يسكر ملف الأسرى أو يمنع الحرب تتحول لصراع إقليمي شامل. وهذا بيثبت إنه القصة مش بس بين طرفين على الأرض زي ما بيحكوا. نهاية الحوار لخصت كل شيء. إسرائيل بترفض حل الدولتين، ترفض الدولة الديمقراطية الواحدة. طيب شو الحل؟ البرغوثي طرح خيارين، قال الأفضل برأيه هو دولة ديمقراطية الواحدة اللي فيها حقوق متساوية للكل، بس هو بيعرف إنه إسرائيل بترفض حل الدولتين بحجج أمنية واهية. والشاهد الأقوى يلي بيقطع الشك باليقين أرقام الاستيطان يلي بتنسف أي دولة فلسطينية قابلة للحياة. 22 مستوطنة جديدة و111 مستوطنة خلال 2 سنين بس. وهذا الشغل زي ما ذكرت صحيفة الجارديان تقاريرها عن تصاعد الاستيطان بالضفة، وهو فعليا ضرب أي فرصة لإقامة دولة. وهون بيوصل المشهد للذروة. إذا ما في دولة واحدة ديمقراطية، ما في دولتين زي ما العالم بيحكي. البرغوثي حط الإصبع على الجرح لما حكى عن 7.3 مليون فلسطيني مقابل 7.2 مليون يهودي إسرائيلي. هذا التوازن بيحكي إنه الفلسطينيين موجودين ومش رح نروح لأي مكان. الخلاصة يلي بوصلها الحوار: لا سلام مستدام بدون ما تنحل القضية الفلسطينية من أساسها. واللي بيحسب إنه بيقدر يعمل تطبيع مع العرب ويطنش القضية فهو يعيش في أرض الأحلام.